And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the annual Late Night Friday stream that we do on the late Friday nights. Welcome, everybody. I am glad that y'all are watching and keep watching from anywhere around the world or the country, and I appreciate that very much. And some crazy things happened today with the Rush trial being dismissed, and some of the astronauts are stuck in space. Very wild stuff. And welcome to this episode of the ASSV Live. Alright, here I am. And I'm going to. Y'all could see me, but y'all could see me a little bit better for a moment. When I do this. Okay, here I am. So, I'm going to do the game as I usually do. And before I do that, I'm just going to check the chat. And I am going to say that, yes, today was very interesting how the trial was dismissed because of prejudice, because the prosecution was not, they weren't providing certain information to the defense, evidence and stuff like that with the bullets. And it seems pretty shady, and everybody deserves a fair trial, even if they're shady. And hello, Kadata. Welcome. Thank you for commenting. Welcome to the show. Hopefully it works out for you. And I was talking to somebody in the background, and Mary Toodles specifically. So shout to Kadata. And yeah, hopefully, hopefully Woody doesn't go and mess up the stream as a joke. Yeah, because snitches get stitches, as we know. Alright. So yeah, so that was a very interesting thing that happened today with Alec Baldwin, and he was very emotional, and we all would be if we were in that situation. And I'll talk about these things, and as I play the game and the different things that I talk about while I play the game, then afterwards I'm going to go and show y'all the articles and stuff like that. So I'm going to start off with the game, or launch it. This goes well. Alright. Alright, so the game, it should be loading. Okay, it's loading. Yeah, so, and the prosecutor, she was not nice. She seemed grumpy. She didn't seem too friendly. And I still defend this idea now that it's good for actors to learn about gun safety. Or I should say, a strain would want me to say pew pew safety. And I understand he may have not have known about that, but that was the thing that I wasn't really a big fan of. But at the same time, he didn't know, of course, that there was a live round in there, and at some point they would have had a problem anyway with the situation, because say they're shooting a scene and there would have been the situation anyway. It would have happened regardless. And some people are upset about it, some people are not. And as I said, I've been very critical about any possible neglect in the situation, but at the same time, I can understand how he didn't know there was a bullet in there, and they wouldn't think to have checked it, but it's best to check things anyway. And also, it's not disputed about if he was guilty or innocent. The situation was about if he, the trial was being fairly done or not. And accidents can happen, of course. And it was a horrible situation. And as I said the whole time, it's important to find out who put those live rounds on that set. And of course, the armorer was the one that told him it was okay. And I think from what I can gather is that he was trying to do a draw. He was practicing his draw, and it went off. And I noticed when he would have the pew pew in his hand, the thing in his hand, he would always have his finger on the trigger. I learned from a young age that it's best not to rest your finger on the trigger, just put it in the side of the pew pew. And I think that it was wrong for them to withhold things. And allegedly, the prosecutor said some bad things about him. And you're not supposed to have a bias in that incident. And I was also saying how it reminds me of YSL, where Jeffrey Williams and his group were accused of doing racketeering and like gang activity, mobster stuff, and the state seemed very biased, and the prosecutor seemed very biased, and that case is being reviewed, and that judge will likely be off the bench, and so, as I said, just he did something wrong. It's obvious. We don't have to do anything shady. Now, it seems like she may have not thought the bullets were important to put in the evidence, but, everything needs to be put in evidence. And as I said, you got to have healthy communication with the state, and the defense have to have healthy exchange of information, because we're not a totalitarian country. I don't live in those countries, so I cannot give you an accurate judgment on it, but we don't have a country like that. We give people fair trials and stuff. And also, as I said, he usually has this stone cold look on his face. He's like a poker face on him. Sometimes looks grumpy. Sometimes looks like he's about to pass out. And like the chat and I were all like, through the whole time, we were like making comments about how he was looking and like the way he made his faces and stuff. And sometimes he'd walk out the room in the middle of the court proceeding, while court was in session. And the reasons behind this is, I'm not too sure. Maybe he needed to, or I'm not too sure. But basically, he had this stone look on his face, and then as the judge was talking about dismissing the case because of prejudice, he got redder, and then he started getting a little bit emotional, then a little bit more emotional, then he got emotional, which is fine. That he did that because any of us would have felt that way. I'm not putting him down for that. It was a moving thing to see that occur. And, regardless of what people think, if he was really innocent or really guilty, that he was going to be, they found a rat, they found something not right with it, and they're going to throw it out. And it was a really moving thing, and it's one of the most memorable trials that I've watched, and so far. And it was like with the Johnny Depp trial. It was really clear that he was not in the wrong. Johnny Depp's not perfect, but he was not guilty of the crimes that Amber Heard was accusing him of. That was obvious. And there's people that were against him and accused myself and others of being fanatics of Johnny Depp, that we were just moved because he was famous, but that wasn't true. Like and I like Alec Baldwin movies, and I've only seen like a few things because I'm young. Not calling y'all old, if y'all are older than 20s, but basically, like, I've seen him in some things, and I saw reruns of movies and stuff, and yeah, so I didn't want him to go to jail, or prison, rather. But then again, it's like, if someone does a crime, they shouldn't be, like, let off the hook just because they're famous. But then again, accidents can happen and stuff, so, I mean, I'm not saying, like, he was doing it on purpose, but basically, I just judge the situation, and yeah, it seems like they weren't being fair to him in the trial, and some may have conspiracies that he was not, that they wanted to let him off the hook because he was famous. I don't know, maybe that could be true. And we've discussed last night some conspiracy theories about it, and that was interesting. But basically, what happened was, I think that it was very good for his attorney to see and dig up this information about him not having the fair trial and then calling them out for it. That was very good. So, and my statement is this, is that everybody, that's the last part of what I was going to say, that I think gun safety is very important, and neglecting gun safety, should be taken seriously, and actors should be taught correct gun safety measures. And another thing is that at the same time, accidents can happen, and unfortunately, since there was live rounds in the set, somebody at some point was going to get hurt. And it could have even been him. I don't know what the movie's like or who has the pew-pews, but he could have been hurt. And I don't think he did it intentionally, in my opinion. And also, as I say, gun safety, pew-pew safety is important. The people should know the right procedures and how to use them safely and not carelessly or do neglect. All right, and I would practice what I preach. And also, at the same time, people deserve to have a fair trial, and they shouldn't be shady stuff going on behind the scenes. So that's my position about it. And as I said, the prosecutor seemed like she didn't get. She was kind of maybe sassy to the judge. I know that definitely. She seemed like she had an attitude, and certainly this stuff that just came out today was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. No one was expecting that this would happen, and everybody was shocked. And I knew that there seemed some shady things from the prosecution that, like say he did something that was careless. That I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, there could have been some shady stuff going on, but I wasn't completely aware of that because some people called it, and I was just kind of going through day by day with it. And yeah, it was shocking, and in some ways not a big surprise, but it was a surprise. And everybody in the chat was shocked, and even the people over, I was watching Law and Crime, they were over there, and they were shocked too. And she was running, trying to see the prosecutor to get information, because all the news people are trying to get interviews from her. I don't know what you would call it, but she's walking, the news are following her to get a scoop about it. So that was really interesting to see. It was and the cameraman's running, and he's trying to get through this big huddle of other cameramen. It was wild stuff, live action, and it was incredible to watch that live. And it was an accident, and as I said, hopefully the film industry can train their actors to do better, and even blanks can cause problems too. That could even cause damage to people as well. And Alec was saying himself during the police interrogation that there was, one actor deleted himself from a blank, and I don't think he did it intentionally, and it's not, as I said, a discussion if he was guilty or innocent. It was that that there is a bias against him. So, and the judge, she doesn't put up with nonsense. She was no nonsense. She ran a tight ship, like what I'm running right now in the game, and yeah, she wasn't putting up with it. She was not going to put up with it. And it was because sometimes they would go back and forth, and she wasn't putting up with it. And his attorney, he seemed kind of maybe a little nervous sometimes, or a little goofy, but he seemed very sharp, and he was very intelligent to be able to call this stuff out and get him off the hook, obviously. And I commented perhaps he's like a young Steele. Yes, Cynthia, I agree. There's no reason to have live rounds on a set. I agree. And also, basically, I think that, and we have to find out, it's important to find out who exactly was the person that put them on the set. That's something that should be investigated, for sure. And I've not seen that before when they go and have a situation where they completely go and take out the, throw the trial out. That was something, that was really something else. Shout out to all of you watching. Appreciate it. My friend in the game seems like he's there. Yeah, shout out to Sam. I think he's in the boat with he's in the ship with me. Okay. Yeah, and I think that people, because there is a movie called The Raven, I believe, and he was the person. The name of the person I forgot at the moment, but yeah, he was deleted on the set because of a blank, and it was very messed up that they did this. You know, with somebody trying to sabotage it, or people. The theory that I've heard is that people were trying to have these things going on where they were practicing, which doesn't make any sense. But people were practice shooting on the set, and I was like very confused about that. Like, well, why would someone do that on the set? It's not really necessary. Or someone was trying to sabotage it because it's very strange. And the person or persons are out there somewhere. They're out there. They need to be investigated because those are really the main culprits. All right, sinking ships. Today is going well with the sinking of the ships. There we go. Alright. And it's very shocking. Very, very shocking. And then it was all over the news about it. Because you got to give everybody, as I said before, a fair trial, and you can't be withholding evidence and stuff like that. Like with YSL, the judge wasn't right to steal the attorney, and you've been holding an attorney in contempt, over the ex parte meeting he wasn't told about when he should have been told about it. And we're not like those other countries. We should have fair trial. So, and in one sense, it's good that there wasn't bias. The judge was not biased in this. Now, some people may dispute that maybe she was leaning in the favor of Alec, but from one sense, the prosecution wasn't always being favored, and that in favor of the defendant. So that is something interesting to see. That's not like in theory, not biased. And also, so that with that trial, that was very wild. And something I was learning last night from some of the others is that the situation occurred where these astronauts are caught, they're stuck in space on the Boeing Starliner. And basically, on the Boeing, they were having problems where they're trapped and they weren't able to get to them right away, but I was seeing an article that they're doing it by August. They should be able to get to them. They have plenty of food and stuff, so they should be okay. But that must be pretty. They are fine, but it's kind of spooky in the way that they're stuck there. Oh, I agree that there shouldn't be any ex parte meetings because it's like the defendant, no, not the defendant, the witness. They're trying to get him to say perhaps trying to get him to say he deleted somebody and get him to say something he didn't do, and to make Jeffrey Williams, young thug, look bad. Kind of frame him in a way. You're not supposed to do that. And as I said, if there's the truth, there's nothing to hide when it's the truth. You don't have to do shady things like this. There's no need to do shady things. Yes. It is against the rules, absolutely. No, they're not supposed to do that. And Steele was saying it's like communist China, communist Russia. He made that reference. That it was like the communists over there, because that's what they do, especially like North Korea. That's how they do over there in those countries. And the judge was very unprofessional in the YSL, and he was very angry. And he was very unprofessional, and that was absurd. And Fannie Willis is behind the DA in Georgia. So of course there's some other motives behind it. Very shady stuff going on. So and I like watching these trials and seeing how these things go down. And there's a lot of shady stuff going on, and it's good when it gets exposed. And a good thing about our country is that we have a good justice system that we're able to challenge these things. Because over there in those dictatorships, they don't do stuff like that because they don't have that over there. And it's good, right, to have attorneys and people to do the correct things. Yes, the People's Republic of California. Yeah, so in the game, I have a friend in the game where I was typing him something. Because in this game, I'm talking to somebody, but like through the typing, so that's why I paused for a second. Yeah, in California, there's so many homeless people and all kinds of stuff going on over there, and that's really messed up over there, definitely, yeah, absolutely. And there's people that's trying to make the country like that. I know, right? I know. That's what I wonder. Why don't they just secede and go make their own country? I agree. And also, like, the people lost. Not they're not lost in space, but they're trapped up there. Yeah, that's really messed up that that's happened. And I believe I've heard some messed up things with the Boeing in general, and they really need to get their act together because there's some issues with the thrusters. And I guess in some ways it's good, depending how you look at it. If people like being around crowds, they wouldn't like it. If they're like not around Earth, but in some ways, I guess there's a lot of messed up things going on Earth, as you all can obviously tell right now. So I can understand why maybe they're happy where they are for the moment. Oh, the bounty hunter in the game, finally. Let's see. And speaking of the YSL trial with Jeffrey Williams at that one, I remember like the 20 attorneys stood in solidarity with Steele. Like they went outside the courthouse and they stood with like because they called up some of the attorneys from this group to come and defend him. And Ashley Merchant was the one that stood and defended him against the judge. And yeah, so that was another moving thing that happened recently. But like the other and today when the prosecutor she brought herself up on the stand in the Alec Baldwin trial. She brought herself on the stand as a witness without any attorney present, and they're not supposed to talk like that without an attorney present. So that was another thing the prosecutor did wrong. But she's so arrogant that she thought she was able to fix the situation, and that wasn't. I knew that wasn't a good move because they're, it's like even Steele called in another attorney to help him out in that situation he was in. All right. Let's see. Yeah. So, and I think that as they say, it's good to have like attorney defend you, and to not just do it by yourself. Like to defend yourself isn't the best idea, as they say. And she was just sitting there on the stand, and because there's these bullets that the police got, and she didn't tell the defense about it, and it's like everything in evidence should be considered. It's really not nice to do that. Very shady, and all these other factors that were adding up with the Alec Baldwin case that were causing a problem. And he was not a happy camper being there. I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to be in that situation either. Yeah, he was not a happy camper. And also, I wonder if Gavin Newsom would ever run for president. That was something that was being discussed at some points, that they would have him run. Oh, there's another bounty hunter, didn't know. I wasn't checking my radar, because there's a radar, it's a little compass that y'all can't see it, but there's like a compass that's like a radar. Alright, we're going to go out to see a little bit, and we're going to put this other bounty hunter down into the depths. Alright, so we're going to turn this way, and we're going to get them. Yes, I agree. I agree. Here we go. And that thing didn't go too well, but it's okay. And there is dispute about, in a situation, basically, if Alec did do neglect, and as I said, just goes back and forth, and like it's the armorer's job to make sure that there's nothing bad in the pew pew. Hey Billy, good to see you. Yeah, so how are you doing, Billy? How is your farm going? All right. So yeah, and Billy, I was talking about a couple of different things and how Alec Baldwin, that trial was completely dismissed. And as some of the different people come in here, I'm gonna repeat kind of like what I said before and mention to them about it. Yeah. So basically, he was. They found that. Okay, you'll be back in a minute. All right. So it's good that Billy's in the chat, which is Turning Guns is Billy. For those that may not know. Okay. Okay, so it looks like that bounty hunter was taken care of. Right, exactly, Cynthia. Right. It was a setup. So hopefully they investigate with the Rust situation on that movie set. They figure out who was the person that was bringing the live rounds there. We got the more bounty hunters are coming. All right. And in a little bit, I'm going to go into the articles of these things I'm talking about. see for y'all. Hello, Primal. Good to see you. Uh, there's a bounty hunter over there. Yeah, and also, speaking of like inflation and stuff like that, it's unfortunate the past 4 years it's been getting worse, and the policies that were being made aren't too, didn't seem too good. And basically, that as I say, as we were saying before, California is an example of a failed state because it just doesn't work with what they're doing. It absolutely doesn't work. And then with RFK, they didn't let him go into the debate, and a lot of people feel he should have been at the debate, but they said he didn't have the credentials, but he said he did have the credentials, and that's a dispute that's going on with that, and also, yeah, everything's smaller for the same price. Yeah, and you go over there and you see all this stuff, all these things where you have the as I said, it's like homeless tents everywhere over there in California. I've seen so many homeless tents everywhere, needles and things, and it's absolutely absurd. And a lot of people doing drugs and stuff, and they're against Christianity and things like that. So with RFK, he has some interesting things to say, and but of course a lot of people, some people may not be a big fan of him, some are, some aren't, but like basically, his uncle's a very famous president, and like the Democrats, that group of Democrats were a little bit different than the ones that we have now. They're more radical now, and I think a completely different position. So like RFK is more like the Democrats from back in the past. Yes, Cynthia, absolutely, absolutely. It's horrid. We got both of them coming at us. All right. And like people, there's this bridge over there, and in California, and it had these beautiful lights on it. I've seen it. And what happened was they stole all the lights on it, and it's just dark now, and they can't have nice things because people just steal stuff over there. And there's not really that many consequences for those actions. Oh, turning that way. All right, dodging that stuff, turning around a little bit, and we got some of that. Okay, here we go. And back in the '80s and back in that, the '70s and all, things are much cheaper back in that time. And now things are getting more and more expensive because like fiat currency back then could buy you more than it can now. Cause even back in the '40s and '30s and stuff, like, well, there was the Great Depression, but there was a certain point like where like a movie cost at like a 25 cents. So back in the day, things were a little bit different, than they are now, and yeah, in California, yeah, that's just a totally pitiful situation over there. It's absolutely bad, really bad over there. Alright, doing a pretty good job taking out the Royal Navy and the Bounty Hunter. Hello, Primal. I'm glad that you are are back with us. And I was talking earlier about how Alec, the trial, the Rush trial with Alec Baldwin that he was in, it was dismissed. So it means that the case is dropped and Alec Baldwin is now free because the prosecution was withholding and not telling the defense about certain evidence and having a bias against Alec Baldwin and calling him names and stuff like that behind the scenes. And one of the prosecutors, one of them resigned from the case because the way it was being handled, and that's not a good sign. You know, there's something shady stuff going on with that. And it was just very wild today. Very wild. And Bubbles is playing with a toy. All right. Almost got this thing, these ships deleted. Okay, here we go. Be careful, be careful. Okay. Glide, and then we're gonna get it like this. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break them up. This way, it'll cause division. Okay. And also, Primal. Yeah, Gizmo, Gizmo has a tortoise. Yeah, he had to get out. Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, a shout out to Gizmo. Cool tortoise. Yeah, this way I'm going to get it better. Like this. Okay, doing pretty good here. Going to attack. Hello, Bumblebot. Good to see you. Welcome. Okay, we got the Bounty Hunter. Okay, Raven's Cove is opened. Yeah, so in Bumblebot, so what happened was with the Alec Baldwin trial, the Rush trial, was basically he the prosecution was having a bias against him, so it was dismissed because of prejudice, and she was saying nasty things about him behind the scenes, and also basically what happened was there's some evidence with the bullets that was brought in. There is, and the prosecution did not tell the defense about this, so it looks kind of shady, like they're trying to hide evidence that could possibly help his case. And with other shady things going on, they went and had the trial, completely dismissed. And Alec Baldwin was very emotional. Obviously, he would be. And it was unexpected and it was quite shocking. Well, okay. That's good. Yeah, Gizmo's a cool channel. Y'all can check him out. All right. Yes, Cynthia, absolutely. They're obligated. Yes, correct. Of course, he would know that answer. Yeah, he would know that. And also, obviously, I was investigating that myself, and I found that out for myself. And also, basically, they should hand over all that to the defense. And I understand you don't trust Alec. A lot of us were talking about how he has anger issues and he has like a temper to him. And I totally understand your position. I thought that he may have been being negligent with the pew pew, and but at the same time, I can understand how it could be an accident and how he didn't think there'd be anything in there. Would even have imagined something would be in there other than a prop. But this doesn't mean he may have not been acting correctly. He could have done it a little bit differently. Not in a civil trial, but in a criminal trial, yes. Okay, thank you for the information. Thank you. Yes, yes, he is. Yes, he is. Right. Like, I don't think it was something intentional. And he's kind of full of himself. Yeah. Welcome back, Primal. Primal. Right. Right, Bubblebot. And it's not about if he was guilty or innocent. That wasn't what the thing was about. It was about that they're having a poor conduct. And as I said, for the prosecutor, for her to go and testify in her own thing, that's really cringe. Because she should have had an attorney present. Even Steele, excellent attorney, he did the same thing. Oh, that's nice. We did quite well with our plunder. Yeah, yeah, that's what yesterday Cynthia we were talking about, where basically he was that he's a pawn in the game. Yes, we were talking about that yesterday. Right, exactly, Cynthia. Exactly. Right, right. That's what Stranded was saying yesterday. Yeah, and also, yeah, because at some points his attorney seemed kind of goofy. At some point, but he seemed pretty smart at the same time with his he was able to expose this, and this is about the motions for a mistrial at the YSL trial as well. Primal says, "How have you been, Alien?" I have been doing good. I've been doing good, and also basically the weather has been well, it was kind of stormy earlier, but then it got better the rest of the day, and it was really cool seeing the Alec Baldwin trial how it went down. Yeah, Billy, I'm glad that you're able to make a live. Correct. Yes, it's been raining off and on. Yes. And yeah, so Billy, what I was doing. So Billy is turning guns. For those that may not know. So basically, what I was doing today, I was able to go and see I was seeing the trial today, and it was so crazy how they dismissed his case because of the situation with the misconduct of not presenting all the evidence, and that caused a problem for this trial, and it wasn't fair. And then again, also the prosecutor, she had a bias against him, and there were some issues going on, and the prosecutor is very she was extremely triggered a lot. So what she did was she went and one of them quit, and the other one was still there, and she was on the stand testifying. And yeah, she just basically. Oh, I heard noise. Yeah, so, and the judge found that in the favor of Alec and the defendant, and they had it a dismissed trial because of prejudice. And then it was starting to make the news all over the place about how the trial went down. And Alec was very emotional. Primal, how are you? And this is a giant wasp on the island that I'm dealing with right now. Okay, my friend Sam in the game is going off, and I'm going to tell him, okay. Okay. And also, chat, as I usually do in the game, during the stream, how are all of you doing? Y'all have anything interesting to talk? Like, how was y'all's week? Are y'all doing anything interesting this weekend? I'd be curious to know if y'all want to mention it. That's cute. That's cute. He says, good. I sometimes forget Gizmo is still a baby, and when he scratches at his cage, he wants out, and he sleeps on me all the time. Oh, that's cute. Yeah, you do need to train him. A friend of mine had turtles, but you have a tortoise, and as I said, it's very cool. Cool pet. I got a bunch of cats. You play the trumpet. I didn't know you played the trumpet. It's very cool. Very, 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 very cool. Yeah, now speaking of California, I think that people won't put up are not going to put up with that for too long, hopefully, and they could change their situation. That really is a failed state over there, and also Portland and other parts of the West Coast. Cynthia says dismiss with prejudice means they cannot ever bring another case against him regarding this matter. I'd love to know what the actual evidence was that showed why the live rounds were there. Me too. I would as well. Yes, those phones do suck. I never had one, but that type of phone, but that's what I would think. All right. And I learned about dismiss with prejudice just today. I'm a learner. Primal Primo says his other name would have been Sheldon Big Bang Theory. Yeah. I'll go in this cave and look at some things. And in a moment, I'm going to pull up the articles that I'm referencing to, that I'm talking to y'all about. So, like, I'll end the game and go to the other part. I want to read the articles about things. And this stream's very eclectic, so I'll go over a bunch of different types of topics like that have nothing to do with each other. Oh, I didn't know that. That does sound very tedious. And very tedious indeed. Yeah. Oh, the big one's attacking me. Okay. Let's see how this goes. I use some power ups here. So I'm facing it head on, of course. And see how this goes. I should be able to get it. Okay. You have 6 phones. That's funny. Yes. Oh, I got the treasure chest. Yeah, I can see this treasure chest. It's pretty cool looking. Yeah, yeah, that's an interesting phone. I'm familiar with that phone when I was very little. I didn't have that phone personally, but I'm familiar with the phone. Okay, I think I'm gonna put this thing in my collection somewhere. So do this in time. Yeah, the keyboards, they suck. And hopefully, with the situation the country's been in, people can see how things have not been working out too well, and maybe we could reconsider some other ways. But some people don't like Biden or Trump. Some people like RFK. Some people don't like either of them. Yeah, yeah. I like iPhones personally. see if there's... Is this the same thing? Alright, I'm going to trash that one. Take this one. Alright. Very good. Yes, you can go ahead and type it. Yeah, facts. This is... I'm using probably the wrong one. Okay. Yeah, this is the one. Because they have different ones that you do different things. Poke it, poke it. Also in the UK, they had elections over there. And basically, like, there's a situation where, like, a lot of the people there vote for not the best things. And, but Nigel got a seat, which is good for them over there. Because they have some people over there that have problems. You know, politically. You know, my family over there, I keep up with the UK politics. Turning Gun says I can't do iPhones because inadvertently smash phones. I'd rather keep it cheap. All right. I go through Phone Weekly. All right. So you're saying that the phones with the stuff and the work you do, they may get destroyed, and you'd rather something cheaper if you have to replace it. All right. That's understood. You have 6 phones to keep up with all your clients. That's a joke. Yeah. So, there is a funny moment from one of the in the YSL trial when they're with the defendants, and they had a different lawyer that was overseeing the things, and it was another black judge. He was funny because the attorney asked him something to get, you know, if he could do something. He said it took y'all as long as it took you as long as it took God to make Adam to get this thing done. So, and he said the request was denied because it took him as long as it took God to make Adam, and that was hilarious. And I've not heard that before. I think I heard that one time, but that's a funny saying. Oh, Primal, you could type it in parts, in little parts. You could do that. Okay. So we're gonna see some scenery in the game. Shout out to all you watching. I appreciate it. And that's the nice sunset. And what I do is I go over the articles of things that I have already talked to y'all about, and you can have a little bit more detail. And we'll probably talk about sharks too. We'll talk about sharks because I've been talking about sharks recently because the Discovery Channel had Shark Week that I used to watch when I was a kid, and kind of like remembrance of that, which they still have Shark Week technically, but like I have my own version of it through this. Cynthia says there is a word limit. I have gone over it several times and had to erase lines. And I think that it's kind of random, but I think what would be cool to do is if they had a day for, like, these. Wait, hold on. Oh, Primal Primal is saying our whole universe was in hot, dense state that nearly 14 billion years expansion started. Wait, the Earth began to cool. The autotrophs began to drool. Netherlands, Neanderthals developed tools we built. Yeah, because I watched The Big Bang Theory a couple of times in my youth, but not really something I watched that much. Billy, about yeah. So I've been keeping the garden under control because it does start to get invasive, and yes, I've been keeping it under control, but yes, it has been it has attempted to become invasive because of the weather, and this time there's a lot of rain, and last time there was a drought, and things weren't really going too well, and the grass even died. But the grass came back later when the drought was over with. So it's going to get some rain back, but also there's a lot of grass and stuff to cut as well. All right, Primal Primal says, continuing that song, a wall we build, the pyramids, mass science history, unveiling the mysteries that all started with the Big Bang. Big Bang, since the dawn of man, is really not that long as every galaxy was formed in. Yes, very. It's cool you're able to memorize that. You know, because those are, the lyrics to a song. That's a good thing to do to memorize things. Yeah, sunset looking nice in the Caribbean, and that's some more of the sky. It's very nice. It's like a virtual world, and in a moment I'm about to bring up the articles for y'all. And California is also called Comnifornia. What would I like to see Gizmo do? I think that the videos you have put out are excellent on your channel. The shorts, they're excellent. And also, if he likes to move a ball around, like a little plastic or a little toy ball around, that'd be interesting to see. Or, basically, I like seeing the ones of him eating food. I like that, and seeing like what he eats, the leaves and stuff and the plants. I love seeing that. So feeding him, I'd like to see too. You watched the whole series 3 times. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's a funny show. It's a funny show. These palm trees are moving. Wow. Let's see if the ship needs to be repaired. Not really. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to go to. I'm going to read the articles about the stuff I just talked about. I'm going to go and look at this. See what's on the list. Eclectic, Rust, trial dismissed, update, Sharks gaming. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Shout out to the spaceship cats. Right here in the spaceship, these little part of the Google wallpaper thing. All right. So, Alec Baldwin. It's a funny joke, Billy. It's a funny joke. So you see all the news articles about it, and just yesterday when we were just talking about this yesterday, we were having a good time and we were discussing Alec Baldwin, and a day later, his trial. Yeah, and also, I think Billy must be joking around or something, but you're okay, Primal. You're doing good. You're not doing anything wrong. All right, but I'm watching your chat. So, basically, as I said, we have in the Alec, we have all this going on. I'll show you all some pictures from it. So here we have the different scenes, and we have this. Yeah, and then this is when he was getting emotional, which, as I said, I'm not. That's very, like a. It's very a moving thing, very moving thing. Any of us would be like this in a situation. You know, as I said, he just slowly just started to get more and more red, and get emotional, and yeah, and he was with his wife. Yeah, yeah, he's just messy. He's just being satirical. Billy's just messing around. He's not. He's all right. All right. You're gonna cook. You're a very good cook. You are a very good cook. Very skilled. I'm glad to have all you here. Yeah. Do I think the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp case was fake? I remember watching that live, and I got many people to see that Johnny Depp was cool people, and he may not be perfect, but he was not responsible for these allegations that were brought against him. But I don't know about it being fake, but I think that basically he was, I think that it was not fake in the sense that he was being slandered by Amber Heard, and that he was innocent of these allegations, and she was just trying to get money out of him, and she was very evil and nutty, and like a lot of actresses, like some actresses in Hollywood may do stuff like that. Like back in the past, one of them was telling me about how they'll go with those famous actors to get like money and stuff out of them. So no, I think that he was not perfect, but he was innocent of the allegations, and and her her and her attorney were cringe, and a lot of people were, I believe, were comparing Amber Heard's attorney to the prosecutor. So yeah, I think that it was a real case, and Johnny Depp was innocent of the allegations. Is the moon landing fake? I understand there's conspiracy theories about the moon landing, and in my opinion, I think it really happened. The moon landing happened, but if people have any to see the conspiracies, I've said this before, but like if people have any evidence or alleged evidence to prove that it was faked. I'd like to see it, but I think that really did happen. Yeah. All right. So yeah. So that's him. So here we go. Alec Baldwin. Let's see. Is this a whole article or is this just a little snippet? In a stunning move, Judge Mary Marlowe. Okay, Cynthia. Thank you so much for coming. It was nice seeing you, and your first time on the stream. So have a very great weekend. Thank you for coming. Yeah, so Alec Baldwin appears to cry as involuntary manslaughter case is dismissed. In a stunning move, Judge Mary Marlowe Sumer has dismissed the indictment against Alec Baldwin in his involuntary manslaughter trial related to his fatal shooting of cinematographer Helena Hutchinson. Read this one real quick. Prosecutors who resigned from the Alec Baldwin Rust case say she wanted dismissal. Orlando Johnson, who said she believed the manslaughter case against Alec Baldwin, said she believed withheld evidence meant the case should be dismissed. A special prosecutor who resigned from the manslaughter case against Alec Baldwin on Friday said she did so because she felt it should have been voluntarily dismissed by the state. Okay, Primal, thank you so much for coming tonight, and have a great blessed night and a great weekend. You and Gizmo. All right. All right. So, a special prosecutor who resigned from the manslaughter case against Alec Baldwin on Friday said she did so because she felt it should have been voluntarily dismissed by the state. Judge Mary Marlowe Sumer would dismiss the case against Baldwin later that day, and she dismissed it with prejudice, meaning charges cannot be refiled against the actor. I do agree with you. Different type of pets teach us something. I do agree. Baldwin, 66, had faced a count of involuntary manslaughter in the accidental shooting of a cinematographer, Helena Hutchinson. No, it's not Hutchinson, it's Hutchins, rather. Yeah, so Billy, to make it clear what's going on here, he was on the movie set and he was practicing his draw. Yes, it's a movie set. He was practicing his draw and he was practicing on the movie set. It was not during a scene, and he went and he accidentally shot somebody. Hutchins accidentally shot her, a cinematographer, and also injuring another person. And basically, he did not do it intentionally. Somebody put live rounds on the set. And also, basically, she was, young. She was, from Ukraine. And it was unfortunate what happened. And the debate is that he have some sort of a neglect. Yes, it's a movie set. And because I seen him when he had the firearm in his hand, the pew pew in his hand, he would always have his finger on the trigger, and you're supposed to have it on the side of the pew pew like this, and you're not supposed to rest it on there. And basically, what happened was he went out and had this problem, and this trials were going on about it, and they were withholding some evidence. Some of the evidence was not, it was withheld. It wasn't given to the defense, so they had to dismiss the case. And further reading, Judge Mary Marlowe Sumer would dismiss the case against Baldwin later that day, and she dismissed it with prejudice, meaning charges can't be refiled against the actor. Baldwin, 66, had faced a count of involuntary manslaughter and the accidental shooting death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins, killed, deleted in 2021 on a New Mexico set for the movie Rust, as Baldwin held a revolver intended to be used as a prop. Rust armorer Hannah Gutierrez Reed was convicted in March on counts of involuntary manslaughter and the shooting, and is sentenced to 18 months in prison. Special prosecutor Erlandia Acapo Johnson, who gave an opening statement accusing Baldwin of being reckless, and she knew the prosecution's case was in trouble Friday when she learned that some rounds had not been turned over to the defense. It was clear that it was something that should have been turned over, Acapo Johnson told NBC News Friday night. The lady with the blonde lady with the glasses wearing the blue, that is the prosecutor. That's the I'm calling it the chief prosecutor. And the smaller lady right there next to her, she was another prosecutor that was there, but she resigned today. Because I didn't see her there, and I'm wondering what on earth is going on here. You know, what's this all about? And Aka, kind of hard for me to pronounce. Ocampo, or Poe, I'll say Poe. Johnson resigned Friday and walked out of the court even before a hearing could be completed about whether evidentiary issue meant that Baldwin's case should be dismissed, as his lawyers argued. And I was not aware of all this shady stuff going on, by the way. Her fellow special prosecutor, Carrie Morrissey, said in court that Ampo Johnson resigned in part because she didn't agree with the decision to have a public hearing, but Ampo Johnson said she didn't think a hearing should have been held at all. I believe that the right decision would have been a dismissal, Ampo Johnson said. Come on. Okay, I'm going to continue reading. Asked if there was a pushback in the recommendation, Ampo Johnson said, "I wouldn't say pushback. It was a go forward with the case." Baldwin's attorneys asked the judge to dismiss the case after it was revealed that Troy Teskey. Oh, I remember when this was being talked about, and there's Mr. Teskey and Mr. Balls. You can't get any more hilarious than that. And I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. This whole thing was a comedy, man. This is like a movie or something I was experiencing that I was like in, like that Troy Teskey, a former police officer and friend of Gutierrez Reed's stepfather, delivered a Colt 45 caliber rounds to the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office on March 6, the day of Gutierrez Reed's conviction. Defense attorneys said they should have been told about the rounds. Morrissey argued that the disputed ammunition was not linked to the case or hidden from Baldwin's lawyers. There is no reason to believe that evidence that we discussed in the court today was related to the set of rust, Morrissey said after the case was dismissed. She said she disagreed with the judge's decision but respected it. Morrissey did not immediately respond to requests for additional comments on the case Friday because, and I was watching it live, and the people on the channels watching, the lady was running, like the law and crime people. They'll sit there and they'll talk under a tent, and then she start running with her microphone, and then the cameraman start running too, and there's this big cluster of like NBC and CNN and all these different news stations trying to get the scoop. And yeah, she said a little. The Morrissey said a little bit, but she wasn't saying much. But it was some wild stuff. This was crazy. And Ocampo Johnson said that she believed in the criminal case against Baldwin and was prepared to show evidence that days before Hutchinson's was deleted, video showed the firearm was not handled the way it should have been. Baldwin should have known industry guidelines, which include never pointing firearms at people and to always treat them as if they are loaded, Campo Johnson said. And I agree with that. And that's what I've been saying the whole time. All right. And also, understanding accidents happen and they weren't expecting there would be a live round there. It's like, say if you have like a Nerf gun, a Nerf pew pew, and there's a real bullet in there and it deletes somebody. It's, as I said, in my opinion, it's something like that to them. Like I remember when I had these toy pew pews as a kid, I couldn't even point them at people. Not even a toy one that just clicks. So, as I said, like I was told about pew pew like safety guidelines and safety measures, and basically, like I don't think he knew the proper pew pew safety, how you should handle one, and he always. And Billy, he always rested his finger on the trigger all the time, not on the side of it. And it's like, and plus it has the hammer on it since it's a revolver, and he could have flicked it or something like that. And in my opinion, he could have set it off. Hola, Latina, good to see you. I was just thinking about you, Latina. I sent you telepathic messages to come here. And yeah, but basically, it's good to have safety with it, but at the same time, I completely understand that he did not intentionally, do it on purpose, and they should just teach these actors better safety measures. So I stand by that, but also at the same time, everybody should have a fair trial. Thank you, Latina. Gracias. Thank you. And also, basically, in Latino, we're talking about Alec Baldwin last night, and I'll give you, although you may have seen me talk about it, or I've been talking about it, I'm going to talk to the certain people that come in here as we go along the stream, for those of you re-watching it. So basically with Alec Baldwin, today they found out that there was some information, some evidence that was being withheld that wasn't given to the defense, and it slowly escalated, and she was being told, like, the prosecutor, she was having some problems with the judge back and forth. And I'm reading this article, one of the prosecutors resigned, and also basically it was not getting too good, and then she testified on the stand. The prosecutor, this is wild, about the situation, and she was cross-examined by his attorney, and that, why was she not giving this information to them? And she was saying bad things about Alec, and it was really like, you're not supposed to have a bias in this situation. And then what happened was, and I'll show you the defense. So this is the prosecutor, the one in the blue that with the glasses on her in her hair. That one's I'm calling the main prosecutor, the chief one. The one on the side was like the additional one, and she resigned. The shorter one, she resigned. And he usually has like a stone cold face, like a tree stump. He looked really, cool looking and all. Like, he looked good, but like he has like this stern, like, look on his face all the time. And we kind of like talk about it and make jokes about it in chat. But then, like, of course, and it was a very moving thing to watch. He got more and more like red, and then he got emotional over it. He started to cry over it, and that understandably was a deep thing for him to go through, and it was, a moving thing to see. And any of us would feel the same way if we were in that situation. And so Latina, it's completely dismissed because of prejudice, because there is this certain bias going on, and they're withholding the evidence and not giving it to the defense that could have helped his case or whatever. And he can never be tried with this ever again. And I do agree that it's the armorer's responsibility, and that, yes, he should have been, as I've been saying, he should have been using pew safety measures, absolutely. And he may have been negligent, absolutely. But also, I wasn't there, of course, so, but basically, in my opinion, yes, there's likely that could have been going on. But also at the same time, they should have been not live rounds on a movie set, and he probably would never have thought there would have been live rounds in there. And he was told by them that it was okay, and he didn't have the proper training about maybe these safety regulations, because somebody, a long time ago, I'm sure you remember, the set on the Raven, somebody was deleted because of a blank. And they were saying earlier, when they were, like, during one of the breaks, that when they're on the camera, they usually point it towards the, away from the person towards the camera. They don't point it towards, or a little bit like off the camera. They don't do it towards the person on the movie set. So that is something that I learned today. And also, it's important that they follow these measures. And he was maybe drawing it. That's what he was probably doing. And he either set it off by mistake, he didn't realize it, he did it, and, unintentionally, or he was just practicing or something, and that happened. So no, I do think that, accidents can happen, like the Titanic or anything. Accidents can happen to anybody. But, basically that it's been dismissed, and he and Hollywood can learn a lesson to be careful about these things. And also, as I said, a statement before, that I believe that it's important for actors to use gun safety, and people should be held accountable, perhaps, if they were being negligent. But this situation seems like, a really tragic accident. But also, people deserve to have a fair trial in this country. People deserve, everywhere, they should have a fair trial. But they should have a fair trial. He should have a fair trial without any bias, like the YSL Young Thug trial. There should be no bias against him. There should be no evidence. All evidence should be presented. Like Cynthia was saying earlier, she's an attorney. Cynthia Schmidt, she was saying earlier that all evidence has to be given to the defense. So, yeah, they're poor conduct, and if he really did do something wrong, there's no reason to withhold anything or to be shady and to not have bias, because who knows, if some piece of evidence could lead to something, in either way, for or against him. You never really know. And it's like, could people be hiding things or trying to twist things around? You just never know. But yes, it's unfortunate she passed away, and she, the armor was clueless, and it's just a very horrible situation. So Latina, it's very, and everybody else, it's very interesting that it's just like 24 hours ago, from when we were here last time, how things have changed. I've never seen this before, and we were all saying in the chat today that this is going to be remembered forever. Like, we're never going to forget about this. It was just so crazy. And I'm glad that I got to see this live. I'm very blessed for that. We all have blessings. I'm very glad I got to witness that and see that. And, like, one of the first people to know about this. So, and I'm glad to share it with all of you. I'm blessed to have all of you, too. So, yes, this is a very, very interesting to see how things can be twisted and turned, and how things can go down. All right. So, continuing reading this article. She says, quote, "I believed in the case," she said, "because I do believe, obviously, there's a woman who was deleted. There was some reckless behavior on set. But she said it is up to the defense attorneys, not the prosecutors, to decide if evidence is relevant to their defense or not." Ocampo Johnson said, "She does not believe any evidence was withheld on purpose." So she's saying, like, she doesn't believe that it was withheld on purpose. She doesn't believe that, like, and I think that maybe she thought that the other one thought it was going to be irrelevant to the case. It didn't really matter. But and she was on the stand, Latina. The prosecutor was on the stand. It was crazy. And she was, saying that she liked Alec Baldwin in a lot of his movies and stuff and TV shows he did. But she didn't have an attorney present. Even Steele had an attorney present. He had Ashley Merchant defend him. She just went up and just spoke there. She wasn't supposed to do that. She's supposed to have an attorney to defend her, but it shows another form of false conduct. It shows another faulty conduct that didn't go too well. Yeah. So continuing reading. "I don't think it was intentional. I really don't believe that," she said. "I think it was just something that it wasn't turned over, and it should have been." After the Baldwin case was thrown out, Gutierrez Reed's attorney Jason Bowles said, "We will be moving for her immediate release." That's funny, Latino. And he does seem kind of like, as Cynthia was saying earlier, kind of full of himself, or he's kind of like, he seems kind of angry sometimes. Yeah. But, yeah. I still believe, though, everybody should have a fair trial, though. And I do believe it's important to not be, to have, as Billy concurs with me, to have basic gun safety on a set. And there may have been some reckless stuff going on. Like Alexa Rose, who's one of the aliens in the channel, she's not here right now, though, but, she also is into pew-pews, and she was saying about the safety and his recklessness. And I completely concur with her. I completely concur. But at the same time, also considering it was an accident, he didn't really know about it, it wasn't intentional, and that on a movie set they wouldn't have ever imagined something like that were to happen, and the armor was at big fault here. So as I said, I really, can see both sides of this. As they say, sometimes the truth is in the middle. But as I said, with them not doing this trial correctly and maybe having a bias against them, I'm totally against that. Because it just makes you wonder other things. But, as I said, he's learned a lesson. I believe he has learned a lesson. He'll be more careful on movie sets. And Hollywood actors and actresses will be more careful this time. So I think the lesson has been learned here. And he'll know next time to not do that. And all of them will get better Hopefully, we'll get better gun safety training, pew pew safety training. As I said, like I think he's learned his lesson. Well, okay, Latina, that's very good. You're doing that, and we'll see you in a little bit. All right. Good job helping your friends out. Shout out to Latina. All right. And in the final part, Oka Campo Johnson was not involved in the prosecution and couldn't comment specifically how Baldwin's case might affect what Gutierrez Reed's defense attorney do, but broadly she doubted if the disputed ammunition would help in overturning her conviction. I don't think it should impact her case, but it certainly should have been turned over in this case, Ocampo said. Johnson said. Oh, okay. I think that sounds better, Latina. All right. I think that'll be easier to deal with. A botched prosecution, Alec Baldwin's trial gets shock ending fit for Hollywood. The high stakes case, which saw the actor charged in the death of Helena Hutchins, fell apart in a matter of hours. How it happened and what comes next. When Alec Baldwin set out to make The Western Rust in 2021, it was a passion project for the veteran actor. He co-created the story, served as a producer, and starred as the film's lead, Harland Rust, an outlaw with a bounty on his head. Nearly 3 years on, the 66-year-old had assumed the role of a criminal defendant, standing trial in New Mexico for involuntary manslaughter and the death of the cinematographer Helena Hutchins during a rehearsal on the film set. As Baldwin entered a Santa Fe courtroom on Wednesday, the day the trial began, he was staring down the prospect of 18 months in prison. By the week's end, in dramatic twist fit for a Hollywood drama, he was walking out a free man. After a judge found the prosecution and law enforcement had intentionally withheld evidence in the case that could have been in favor to the actor. The prosecution's case fell apart in a matter of hours on Friday. A witness testified that Carrie Morrissey, a special prosecutor leading the state's case against Alec Baldwin, was directly involved in a decision to keep potential crucial evidence separate from the Rust case. Another special prosecutor suddenly resigned in the middle of the day, and Morrissey called herself to the stand as a witness. By the day's end, Judge, Judge Mary Marlowe Sumer had found the state withheld information in a manner that was intentional and deliberate. Baldwin wept. Hill area, Baldwin, his wife, covered her face and then hugged his attorneys. It was a shocking end to the high stakes case that has been closely watched by the film's industry and documented by dozens of journalists from outlets around the world. The swift and unraveling surprise, even seasoned legal observers, it was stunning to see the prosecution fall apart so quickly, and I concur with this. This was very epic to watch. One of the special prosecutors bolted before the judge could even make her decision, said Niema Rahamani, a former federal prosecutor and president of Los Angeles-based West Coast trial lawyers. It's one of the most botched prosecutions in American history. It should be taught in school as an example of how not to bring a case. And I believe there was holes with this case when I was watching it. And I saw this coming, but I didn't completely expect it to happen, or I was just going day by day, moment by moment. I wasn't really going through the motions of this thing can happen right at this moment, or it's going to happen. But I predicted it probably would, because my friend Mikey B, he was telling me, like, he's like, she's not going to drop the case. But everybody kept talking about it, and I'm like, I think it's going to be dropped. I just knew. And I was just thinking about it the other night before I did the live stream. During my night prayers, I was kind of thinking about it. I'm like, something may not be right with this. As I said, the neglect thing I'm talking about, the pew safety thing, that's what I mean. That of course was, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about with the way the state brought this. This is kind of something may not be right. I don't know. I just had a feeling. So this was what I was seeing. This was the feeling that I had. All right. So, but it's a different situation than the Johnny Depp or the YSL situation. This one, it was like split in the middle. It was like, I'm not biased. I'm like seeing like both sides. And so further reading. This is a rant. This whole stream is a rant, of course, but I want to also focus on the article. The swift and unraveling surprised even seasoned legal observers. It was stunning to see the prosecution fall apart so quickly, and that it should be taught in schools. I read that. Astonishing courtroom scenes and a tense week. Friday's remarkable turn of events capped trial that had all makings of a film script. A star accused of acting recklessly with a firearm on set and causing the death of a crew member, a famous audience in the form of Baldwin's actor brother and influencer wife, near consistent battles between the prosecution and defense, and grueling cross-examinations. Over the last week, a bespectacled and stooped Baldwin shuffled into a Santa Fe courthouse each day with his wife and sat alongside his high-profile legal team for proceedings that were live-streamed and viewed across the world, and I saw it. As I said, I'm like, again, I'm part of history. I remember when I was saying during the stream was like, hypothetically, this was going to happen anyway because there's live rounds. They're going to be shooting a scene and somebody was going to get deleted. It was inevitable. It was going to happen either way. And I'm disappointed with Hollywood that they didn't train their actors to have better, in my opinion, gun safety rules. But as I said, like, you'll go through a failure enough until it gives you a wake-up call. Like, before this stream, I made sure that it was on the right network this time before I launched it, and here we are. It's going smoothly. See, you go through, like, failure. Like, when you go through a failure, it could be also a good lesson. Like, what can I learn from this? So sometimes this has to happen. God can allow things to happen enough until you get things to do things differently. So, yeah. And sometimes he would walk out the courtroom. I don't know if he had to do something personal or what it was, but sometimes he would just get up and walk out the room. As I said, it reminds me when I was at school and I would get a, a Coke, and I would, it was like kind of like my senior year, my, like when I was a senior, kind of like before that, but like especially when I was a senior and when I was, I don't quite recall the word, but when I was 11th grade, also I kind of did this. I would go in the cafeteria and I would get a Coke, like a cherry Coke, and I would like, so at certain points when I was in this certain study, like a study hall place where you get like extra help and stuff if you need it. And I knew the teacher since I was like kindergarten. I would like go and I walk out the room and go and kind of like walk around the school a little bit, and sometimes I'd go talk to some people and stuff, but then I would go back, and so it kind of that was what Alec Baldwin did, kind of remind me of that. It's kind of funny, but anyway, over the last week, viewed by the world, yeah, and then right here we have, this was the woman that was deleted. Rest in peace. The cinematographer. The potential repercussions for Baldwin has been very real, being found criminally liable for causing the death of 42-year-old Hutchins, and up to 18 months in prison and guilty verdict would have a lasting effect in the film industry. A jury was seated on Tuesday and proceedings kicked off on Wednesday. As things got underway inside the courtroom, prosecution and defense offered very different versions of the events that unfolded on October 21, 2021. The Rust crew was rehearsing in Bonanza Creek Ranch, at the Bonanza Creek Ranch. Bonanza is an old TV show, by the way. I'm sure y'all have heard of it. A popular movie set about 30 minutes from Santa Fe, when a gun Baldwin was holding fired a single round of live ammunition, striking Hutchins and the director Joel Souza. The bullet entered underneath Hutchins' right underarm and perforated her right lung before traveling through the spine and lacerating her spinal cord. Ouch. The prosecution told the jury in opening statements Hutchins, who was a rising star in the industry, was transported via helicopter to a nearby hospital where she was deleted. The aftermath was captured via body camera from a New Mexico sheriff's deputy who responded to the incident and testified in court this week. The footage showed medics' desperate effort to save Hutchins, who was lying on the floor with her arm over her face. In the view of the prosecution, Baldwin was reckless, an arrogant actor who flagrantly and repeatedly mishandled the firearms on set. He broke the cardinal rule of firearm safety by leaving his finger on the hammer, trigger, and pointing at people on the set while filming. Exactly what I was saying. Exactly what I've been saying. That's the judge right there. And she doesn't put up with nonsense. She doesn't put up with nonsense. The defense countered by portraying Baldwin as an actor who was focused on doing his job and arguing that he was failed by the crew members, which that is true. That is very true. As I said, it's like a split thing. It's like both sides are correct in a certain sense. The defense countered by portraying Baldwin as an actor who was focused on doing his job, arguing that he was failed by the crew members who were responsible for overseeing weapons and safety on set. The attorney, Alex Spiro, as I said, he seemed kind of nervous, but he was very good. He did a very good job. Emphasized that Baldwin had been told the gun was safe moments before it was handed to him, and he wouldn't have known about these other gun safety things like we are more familiar with, or we would double check something. And as I said, on a movie set, you wouldn't be thinking of something like this would be happening. But I do, as I said, recklessness is recklessness, but still I could see both parts, because there's real ambiguity about this case. It's not black and white. No. It all appeared to be a setting up days of tense exchanges over whether Baldwin was at fault, with the actor himself expected to possibly take the stand, but ultimately the jury was unable to render a verdict on the question after things swiftly deteriorated on Friday. When previously unseen evidence was presented, the court was facing a potentially compelling day, as prosecutors were expected to call Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the film's armorer, who was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter earlier this year, to stand. But on Friday morning, the defense alleged the state had withheld evidence and asked the judge to dismiss the case. Shortly after, Sumer dismissed the jury, setting off a day-gripping testimony of astonishing courtroom exchanges. Things fall apart. From the start, fall apart from the start. Issues first emerged on Thursday when Baldwin's defense said that the state had received evidence related to how live rounds of ammunition ended up on the set. Russ prosecutors have long said that Gutierrez-Reed was the source of live round, but new evidence reportedly called that into question. A Good Samaritan, Tori Teskey, had come forward to police this year with a box of mutants that he claimed came from the prop supplier Seth Kenny and matched the ammunition that deleted Hutchins. Spiro told the court the state did not include the report, and this, as in my opinion, this is very, very important. I don't know why they didn't include this. This is absurd. The state did not include the report of an interview Teskey with other Rust evidence, nor did they share it with Gutierrez-Reed's lawyer, Spiro said. Morrissey had said that the ammunition brought forward did not match the ones on the Rust set. This has no evidentiary value whatsoever. The judge asked to see the report and the evidence, a box of ammunition. Moments later, Sumer, who was wearing gloves, stepped down from the bench to examine evidence directly and found some of the bullets did in fact resemble those from Rust. At one point, while questioning a witness, Morrissey grabbed a bullet and handled it herself without gloves, drawing an objection from the defense. Alexandra Hancock, with Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office, testified on Friday that she and other officials made the decision to file it separately from the other Rust evidence, an entirely different case file, because they had not yet established it was connected to the case, she said. I saw this live. The scene you're seeing on the screen, I saw that live. Morrissey said several times that Tory Taskey, the man who came forward with the ammunition, was a friend of Gutierrez Reed's father. She said she had never seen the report until Friday morning, but as the judge questioned Hancock, she said Morrissey was directly involved in the decision to keep evidence separate from the Russ case. The audience in the courtroom audibly gasped. And right behind, you can't really see it right. Let's see. I click on it. Well, I was able to click on it, but basically what that does is it causes the issues. So here we go. Well, let's do that maybe again. Okay, now we're gonna do it like that. See what's seen. Yeah, y'all could see it. So basically, if you could see the lady that's behind the sheriff's deputy guy right there, that's right behind her, the prosecutor, that was a lady from Law and Crime, and I saw her live run to her and do the thing with the camera live, with the microphone live. So I saw that live. That's really cool action historical picture that I witnessed. You know, that's why, like, another thing that y'all know is it's best to, even in this dark situation, it's best to have life. Either life can happen to you or you could happen to life. You know, why it's important to be involved in different things. Morrissey appeared determined to defend her name, and by the end of the day, in what looked like a Hail Mary, she called herself to the stand despite the judge telling her that was unnecessary. You don't have to say anything under oath if you don't want to, Sumer said. And also, as I said, she would be good if she would have had an attorney with her. Morrissey testified that she was not aware that the evidence brought forward would not be linked to the Russ case number. She countered Spiro's suggestion that she didn't like Baldwin. I actually really appreciate Baldwin, she said. Baldwin's movies, she said, I really appreciate the acting he did on Saturday Night Live. Spiro wasn't done. In the final moments, Morrissey was on the stand. He asked if she ever referred to the actor as an arrogant prick. And excuse my language, I'm about to hear this, cocksucker, in a conversation with a witness. Like the YSL trial. Like a YSL trial. And I don't like that, okay? As I said, I think that gun safety may have been ignored, possibly, but this is unacceptable. This happened, which I believe, it obviously seems to be the case. She said she did not recall doing so. You see how she worded it? She did not recall doing so. This is a tactic, just like with some of the people use. It's either yes or no. So, yeah, you see? You see? Baldwin, who had appeared tense during the week, looked increasingly heartened as the day went on. When the judge threw out the case, he wept and covered his face. I understand. The judge dismissed the case with prejudice, putting a sudden end to the involuntary manslaughter case against Baldwin. The decision meant that the prosecutors cannot bring the case against him again. In all the likelihood, Baldwin is off the hook for good. The state's conduct amounted to a constitutional violation. Rahmani said He called it the cardinal sin of the prosecutor. The ruling could also have major implications for Gutierrez Reed and the film's armorer, who could attempt to undo her conviction based on Friday's decision. Not only is Baldwin a free man and he can be retired, but Gutierrez Reed conviction will likely be reversed, Rahamani said. And as I said during the trial, we got to know who put these bullets on the set. That's the person that's really responsible here. The most, in my opinion. Carl Tobias of the University of Richmond Law School. Richmond Law School agreed that her defense would likely use the same approach as Baldwin's lawyers. Hannah Gutierrez Reed may attempt to make similar arguments to those that Baldwin and his counsel made, and that her conviction should be overturned or at least conduct a retrial, and that she be released from the jail, Tobis said. The attorney for Matthew Hutchins, Helena's husband, said in a statement that he respected the court's decision. We look forward to presenting all evidence to a jury and holding Mr. Baldwin accountable for his actions and the senseless death of Helena Hutchins. All right, so, and that's about Alec Baldwin. That's the whole thing. And his wife has been supportive of him the whole time and been right there with him, and it's finally, been done. All right. Looking up what is going to be next. Eclectic, Rust, updates. All right. Okay. Now, I'm going to do a brief update. So, as I said, I think I said before, that I have been, the last week we had a problem with the weather. So that's why I wasn't doing the live like I usually do. And also, we did it yesterday, but, yesterday there was, me being goofy, and I didn't put it on the right thing, but now we're on the right thing, and that's why it's working. And also, we reviewed, so I'm doing good, been doing stuff with the cats, and watching the trials, and doing stuff with family and things like that. And so, I'm glad for that. I'm also glad for all of you, too. Alright. Now we're going to talk about sharks again. Or we'll do another shark. All right, so now we're talking about the nurse shark. The nurse shark is an Essolombranch fish in the family of, this is a complicated word, Glinglymostomatida. I probably said that wrong. The conservation status of the nurse shark is globally assisted as vulnerable in the IUCN list of threatened species. They are considered to be a species of least concern in the United States and in the Bahamas, but considered to be near threatened in the western Atlantic Ocean because of their vulnerable status in the South America and threats throughout many areas of Central America and the Caribbean. They are directly targeted in some fisheries and considered by catch and others. Nurse sharks are an important species for shark research. They are robust and able to tolerate capture, handling, and tagging extremely well. As inoffensive as nurse sharks may appear, they are ranked fourth in documented shark bites on humans, likely due to incautious behavior by drivers on account of the nurse shark's calm sedentary nature. The nurse shark genus is derived from the Glymostoma, is derived from Greek language meaning hinge mouth, whereas the species Cretium is derived from Latin meaning having curled ringlets based on morphological similarities. Ganglymostoma is believed to be a sister genus in the Neburius, with both being placed in a clade that also include species Pseudogliniomostoma, Brevincatium, Rhynchodon, typus, and Stegostoma, Fascitium. Let's see what that is. That's a different nurse shark family. That's the whale shark. Those are the other sharks in that region. So, this is the description of them. The nurse shark has two rounded dorsal fins, rounded pectoral fins, an elongated candial fin, and a broad head. Maximum adult length is currently documented as 308 meters, 10 feet, whereas past reports of 4.5 meters or 15 feet and corresponding weights up to 330 kilograms, 730 pounds, are likely to have been exaggerated. Adult nurse sharks are brownish in color. Newly born nurse sharks have spotted correlation which fades with age and are about 30 centimeters in length when nascent. Alright, so this is the range where the blue is. It seems like to be on the coasts. Alright, this is the head. That's the mouth. That's the mouth. Hey, Billy. Good to see you. Those are the teeth. It's pretty gnarly looking. Wow, those are some sets of teeth. Quite a bit of teeth. It's pretty cool. It's pretty gnarly looking. You have these other little fish that are just hitching a ride on this dude. Yeah, sand looks pretty cool. And then you have this. Yeah, that's really. It kind of looks like a catfish. The nurse. The nurse shark has a wide but patchy geographical distribution along tropical and subtropical coastal waters of the eastern Atlantic, western Atlantic, and eastern Pacific. In the eastern Atlantic, it ranges from Cape Verde to Gabon, accidental north to France, and western Atlantic, including the Caribbean. It ranges from Rhode Island to the southern Brazil, and the East Pacific, Banja, California to Peru. Well, I'm glad that you're back, Billy. I'm glad you're here with us. Nurse sharks are typically inshore bottom dwelling species. Juveniles are mostly found on the bottom of the shallow coral reefs, seagrass flats, and around mangrove islands where older individuals typically reside, and around deeper reefs and rocky areas where they tend to seek shelter in crevics and under ledges during the day, and leave their shelter at night to feed on the seabed shallower areas. Nurse sharks are also subject to piebaldism, a genetic condition that results in partial lack of body pigment and results in speckled body. Yeah, you see how it kind of has like freckles on it. And yeah, the ocean's very interesting looking. Nurse sharks are opportunistic predators that feed primarily on small fish, stingrays, and some invertebrates, crustaceans, mollusks, tunicates. They are typically solitary nocturnal animals riffling through bottom sediments in search of food at night, but are often gregarious during the day, forming large sedentary groups. Nurse sharks are obligate suction feeders capable of generating suction forces that are among the highest recorded for aquatic vertebrate to date. Although their small mouths may limit the size of prey, they can exhibit a suck and spit behavior and or shake their head violently to reduce the size of food items. Nurse sharks are exceptionally sedentary, unlike most other sharks species. Nurse sharks show strong sight fidelity, typically a reef sharks, and it is one of the few shark species known to exhibit maintaining sight fidelity, as they will return to the same breeding grounds time and time again. American alligators, American crocodiles prey on nurse sharks in some coastal habitats. Photographic evidence and historical accounts suggest that encounters between species are commonplace in their shared habitats. This is the nurse shark swimming by a boat. And get all kinds of little critters swimming with that thing. Its eyes look gnarly, man. It looks like it's staring at the camera and it wants to go and bite somebody. And it's so cool to see it, next to a boat, and that's part of the boat underwater. It's so cool. Boats, and ships have to have buoyancy to stay afloat like that. Reproduction. Nurse sharks are omnivorous with fertilized eggs hatching inside the female. Mating cycle nurse sharks is biennial, with females taking up to 19 months to produce a new batch of eggs. The mating season runs from late June to the end of July, with a gestation period of 6 months and typical litter of 21 to 29 pups. The youngest nurse sharks are born fully developed at about 30 centimeters long. Nurse sharks engage in multiple paternity during mating season. A study concluded over a 10-year span found that brood of nurse sharks, a brood of nurse sharks have more genotypes than broods or broads. Not too sure how to say that word. With one father, 14 separate genotypes are found in the bottom in the brood examined, with suggests that more than one father fertilized the mother's eggs. Engagement in multiple paternity promotes genetic variation. All right, now we're going to talk about whale sharks. Glad y'all are here. Thank you all for, engaging in this with me. All right. That's the whale shark. All right, it's pretty big, so y'all can see it a little better. That's the whale shark. The whale shark is a slow moving filter feeding carpet shark and the largest known extant fish species. The largest confirmed individual had a length of 18.8 meters, 61 feet. The whale shark holds many records for size of the animal. Yeah, I see, Billy. I see. Okay. The whale shark holds many records for size in the animal kingdom, most notably being by far the most massive living non cetacean animal. It is the sole member of the genus Rhinocodon and only extant member of the family of Rhinocoditidea, which belongs to the subclass of L.S. baranchi and the class of Chordaeschitius. Before 1984, it was classified as Rhanodon into Rhinodontinate. That's a lot of classifications. Rhino Rhinodontidae is a shark family which includes whale shark and sole extant member and the largest living fish, a single extinct genus Paleochinecodon is from the Paleocene as well. Other one is a subclass of Chordentese fish, including modern sharks, rays, skates, and sawfish. Members of this subclass are characterized by having 5 to 7 pairs of gill cliffs opening individually to the exterior rigid dorsal fins. Small placoid scales. Whale sharks inhabit the open waters of a tropical ocean. They are rarely found in water below 21 Celsius or 70 Fahrenheit. Whale sharks' lifespans are estimated to be between 80 to 130 years based on studies of their vertebral growth bands and the growth rates of free swimming sharks. Whale sharks have very large mouths and are filter feeders, which is feeding mode that occurs in only two other sharks, the megamouth shark and the basking shark. They feed almost exclusively on plankton and small fishes and pose no threat to humans. The species was distinguished in April 1828 after the harpooning of 4.6 meters, 15 feet specimen in Table Bay, South Africa. Andrew Smith, a military doctor associated with British troops stationed in Cape Town, described the following year that the name of the whale shark refers to the animal's appearance and large size. It is a fish, not a mammal, and like all sharks, it is not closely related to whales. In addition, its filter feeding habits are similar to baleen whales. Baleen whales, known as whalebone whales, are marine mammals that provide mesici in Freredor, which plates the mouths in a platonic and it eats platonic creatures. Like from Finding Nemo. Hmm. It's not like the Calolute whale, the sperm whale. That's what they made like blubber and stuff out of. And I've studied a lot about those kind of whales. The the sperm whale. And the in a sperm whale they'll go in like vertical position. The calichute, it does that. Like it'll go like they'll sleep vertically. Description: whale sharks possess a broad, flattened head with a large mouth and two small eyes, located at the front corners. Unlike many other sharks, whale sharks' mouths are located at the front of the head rather than on the underside of the head. A 12.1 meter, 39.7 feet whale shark was reported to have a mouth 1.55 meters, 5.1 feet across. Whale shark mouths can contain over 300 rows of tiny teeth and 20 filter pads, which it used to filter feed. The spiracles are located just behind the eyes. Whale sharks have 5 large pairs of gills. Their skin is dark gray with a white belly marked with an argument of pale gray or white spots and stripes that is unique to each individual. The skin can be up to 15 centimeters, 5.9 inches thick, and is very hard and rough to touch. The whale shark has 3 prominent ridges alongside, which start above and behind the head and end the caudal peduncle. The shark has 2 dorsal fins set relatively far back in the body, a pair of pectoral fins, and a pair of pelvic fins, and single metal anal fin. The caudal fin has large upper lobe and lower lobe. Whale sharks have been found to possess a dermal denticles. So that's another word for fish scales on the surface of their eyeballs that are structured differently from their body. Denticles and dermal denticles, as well as whale sharks' ability to retract its eyes deep into their sockets, serve to protect the eyes from damage. Evidence suggests that whale sharks can recover from major injuries and may be able to regenerate small sections of their fins. Their spot markings have also been shown to reform over previously wounded area. The complete and anointed genome of whale shark was published in 2017. Rhodopsin, the light sensing pigment in the rod cells of the retina, is normally sensitive to green and used to see in dim light, but in the whale shark. All right, Billy, have a good night. Thank you for coming. Acid substitutions may make the pigment more sensitive to blue light inside the light. Instead, the light dominates the deep ocean. One of these mutations also makes rhodopsin vulnerable to higher temperatures in the humans. A similar mutation leads to congenital sensory night blindness as the human body temperature makes a pigment decay. This pigment becomes unstable in shallow water where the temperature is higher and is full of spectrum of light is present. To protect this from instability, the whale shark detectives deactivates the pigment when the shallow water, as otherwise the pigment would hinder the full color vision. In the colder environment at 2,000 meters below the surface, where the shark dives, it is advocated again the mutations thus allow the shark to see well at both ends of the great vertical range. The eyes also have lost all cone ospins except LWS. And this is the range of this shark. It's all over the place. Northern Atlantic doesn't seem to be much sharks. It's in like the lower end of the equator. None, and they're not in Japan. I mean, they probably go there, but you don't see them in Japan. Yeah, you have them in India and these different places. It's pretty cool. The whale shark is the largest non-cetacean animal in the world. Evidence suggests that whale sharks exhibit sexual dimorphism with regards to size, with females growing larger than males. A 2020 study looked at the growth of whale sharks individuals over a 10-year period. It concluded that males on average reach 8 to 9 meters, 26 to 30 feet in length. The same study predicted females to reach a length around 14.5 meters, 48 feet on average. Based on more limited data, however, these are averages and do not represent the maximum possible size. Previous studies estimating the growth and longevity of whale sharks have produced estimates ranging from 14 to 21.9 meters, 46 to 72 feet in length. Limited evidence, mostly from males, suggests that sexual maturity occurs around 8 to 9 meters, 26 to 30 feet in length, with females possibly maturing at a smaller size or larger. The maximum length of the species is uncertain due to the lack of detailed documentation of the largest reported individuals. Several whale sharks around 8 meters 59 feet in length have been reported. Large whale sharks are difficult to measure accurately, both on land and in water. When on land, the total length measurement can be affected by how the tail is positioned, either angled as it would be in life or stretch as far as possible. Historically, techniques such as comparisons to objects of known size and knotted ropes have been used for in-water measurements, but these techniques may be inaccurate in 2011. Laser photogrammetry was purposed to improve the accuracy of in-water measurements. Now, I've seen this at the aquarium. I've seen this at the aquarium, for sure. Reports of large individuals. Since the 1800s, there have been accounts of very large whale sharks. Some of these are as follows. In 1868, the Irish natural scientist Edward Percival Wright obtained several small whale shark specimens in the sea Eschels. Wright was informed of one whale shark that was measured as exceeding 45 feet. Wright claimed to have observed specimens over 50 feet and was told of specimens upwards of 70 feet. Hugh M. Smith described a huge animal caught in a bamboo fish trap in Thailand. Well, we're going to take a detour real quick. We're going to go off course a little bit for a moment, and we're going to go to bamboo trap. Might be kind of graphic. Oh yeah, it looks like a trap that my friend Douglas gave me. Hey, SE. Good to see you. Yesterday I read over that article that you told me about. Thank you. I hope everything's going good with you, SE. Thought I was talking about something else. Well, it's nice to see you. I hope you're doing well, and I'd like to know how you've been. Yeah, about those sharks. Yeah. Yeah, it's very good to see you, man. And also, I want to let you know before I go any further is that Alec Baldwin was his trial was dismissed, and that it was crazy. It was kind of unexpected, and the prosecution did not provide evidence to the defense about his case that could have helped his case, and she had some bias against him and called him some bad names and stuff like that. So basically, and his case was dismissed. And also, he, as I said, there's a a gun safety problem. We call it a pew pew as a code word. There is no pew pew safety. Like when he was on the set and he deleted that lady, because basically the situation was if he had, to not point at anybody and stuff like that, which is true. At the same time, they didn't know that there would be live bullets on a movie set, and he was misled by the armorers, and he was like just in his scene doing his thing. And I do think there should have been safety precautions, could have been ignored in my opinion. But also he deserves to have a fair trial, and they shouldn't have done that to him. And I can understand where he was not taught the gun safety stuff. I can understand he wasn't like intentionally trying to do it, and on a movie set it would be very they wouldn't be thinking of having live rounds on a movie set. So I could see where it was an accident. Accidents can happen. It was very tragic, and he got emotional, which is fine. We all would, and it was very moving to watch. And as I said, I could see both sides. And I said, like, in defense of him one time, like, he would have had, like this would have happened anyway. It was inevitable. Because of live rounds on a set, they would have been shooting a scene, and somebody would have gotten deleted. But at the same time, I understand there could have been some neglect as well. So as I said, it's a very split opinion. It's like, it's not like the other things. It's very split. So that's what happened, and it was all over the news, and I was witnessing it live in the, like, Law and Crime. Like, the lady was running with the microphone to go talk to the prosecutor, and the cameraman was following, and it was just wild. And the prosecutor, one of the prosecutors resigned, and the main one was on the stand. She got on the stand at some point, and she testified about what she was seeing and stuff without an attorney present. Yeah, sets were crazy for sure. Yeah. Like, was someone trying to sabotage the set? Somebody was trying to frame him? Was somebody, more logically, was somebody trying to use real, like, just practicing, and they accidentally mixed the real bullets up? And, that was the, problem with it. And he's been acting for years and years and years, and this has never happened. And, so I understand both sides, and I want to be fair here. And, because I defended Johnny Depp. I defended the, Young Thug, YSL. But as I said, I do feel that, he may have not been taught right about it. At the same time, you wouldn't expect that to be there in the first place. So it's a real tricky situation. But he has been dismissed. He cannot be tried for that again. And it's weird that the prosecution would have a bias against him like they did with YSL, and not give him a fair trial and give the defense what they needed. And his lawyer did an excellent job at exposing this, and it's been dismissed. So it was an epic thing to see. This is one of the most historical cases I've seen since the Johnny Depp trial. You knew what was going on, but we weren't really following it. Yeah. So, yeah, that update you all what was going on. We were just talking 24 hours ago about this craziness, this madness, and then, that's what happens. That basically we have this come up. It's just epic. It's epic. And I enjoyed watching it with my friends. And a friend, Alexa Rose, one of the aliens here, she's not here right now, but you'll probably see her in a future stream. Her husband taught her how to use a pew pew, and she takes it seriously like I do and you do. That you have some safety. You gotta be careful with them. And he always had his finger on the trigger all the time, and that's not how you hold it. A toy gun, I couldn't point that at anybody. It's like, so as I said, but hopefully, as I think he has learned his lesson. He has had the daylight scared out of him. He, will be like a cartoon. It was scared out of him. He and Hollywood have learned a lesson to have better safety measures on movie sets. Even when they're filming a scene, they don't point it directly at the actor. They point it like away. like off, like away from them, like to the camera, like out that way, not directly, but like out that way. So yeah, even on the Raven movie set, they had an actor that was deleted because of a blank, and also some other one deleted himself with a blank. And usually, there's one of the movie set people was saying like they put a cap on it, so when they shoot it, it doesn't go into the person. So yeah, shout out to the other aliens. Yeah, thanks. Shout out to them. They are cool people. So yeah, that's what was happening. Yeah, yeah, it happened to Bruce Lee's son. And look, accidents can happen. As I said, the Al Bowen thing, accidents can happen. Yeah, Brandon Lee. Okay, thank you, thank you. That was his name. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I don't remember the name. Yeah, and it's really tragic when that happens. And hopefully they can have better safety precautions. We have enough technology now that we could make things look a certain way. Right. And right now I'm talking about whale sharks. And that's pretty much it after the whale sharks. I did. I'll tell you an update. So basically, I've been doing good, doing stuff with the cats and watching trials and doing stuff with family and things like that. And the weather, it's been kind of rainy and stormy, and it kind of rains off and on throughout the day. But I've been doing good, and glad to hear about you too, Essie. Right. And last week, the weather was so bad I couldn't do any kind of lives. So now I'm going to continue reading about this whale shark thing, about when they saw the size of these things. Hugh M. Smith described a huge animal caught in a bamboo fish trap in Thailand in 1919. The shark was too heavy to pull ashore, and no measurements were taken. Smith learned through independent sources that it was at least 10 WA, a Thai unit of length measuring between a person's outstretched arms. Smith noted that 1 WA could be interpreted as either 2 meters, 6.6 feet, or approximately an average of 1.7 to 1.8 meters, 5.6 to 5.9 feet. Based on local fishermen, later sources have stated this whale shark as approximately 18 meters, 59 feet, but the accuracy of the estimate has been questioned. In 1834, a ship named the Manganyu came across a whale shark in the southern Pacific Ocean and rammed it. The shark became stuck on the prow of the ship, supposedly with 15 feet, 4.6 meter on the side, and 40 feet, 12.2 meters on the other, suggesting a total length of about 55 feet, 17 meters. Last week was hot for you, Ro. Do you recall approximately how hot it was? If you could, you have to estimate a number. I'd like to know. As you know, it's hot down here. Obviously. Scott A. Erkert, Brent S. Stewart, reported a satellite tracking of a whale sharks from between 1994 to 1996 out of the 15 individuals tracked. 2 females were reported measuring 15 meters, 49 feet, and 18 meters, 59 feet, respectively. A 20.75 meter, 68 feet long whale shark was reported as being standard along the Rat and Guri coast in 1995. A female individual with a standard length of 15 meters, 49.2 feet, and an estimated total length at 18.8 meters, 61.7 feet, was reported from the Arabian Sea in 2001. In 2015, study looking onto the size of marine megafauna, McLean and colleagues considered his female as being the most reliable, accurately measured. On 7 February 2012, a large whale shark was found floating 150 kilometers, 39 meters, off the coast of Karachi, Pakistan. Length of a specimen was said to be between 11 and 12 meters, 36 to 39 feet, with a weight of around 15,000 kilograms, 33,000 pounds. That is really hot, SE. He said it was in the 100, 98 to 100. Most days, some days were 101, 102 hot. To me, I hate the summer. Yeah, SE, I understand it's extremely hot. I kind of become accustomed to, like, I do go outside and kind of, like, go in the sun sometimes. I live in it a lot, but I do love the cooler, cold weather, too. Of course. And it has been very hot. Now, I will say down here what's aggravating to me sometimes is the humidity. It makes me soaking wet. Like, if you went into a pool or you dumped a bucket of water on me, like, I'm soaking wet, and it feels kind of uncomfortable sometimes. I don't like that at all. It feels weird. Yeah, see, I totally agree. I also look forward to the fall coming too, and I like the witches and the goblins and ghouls that come out around the fall too, as you know. And I do look forward to that SE, okay? And I like that weather too. Which I'm more of a fan of that kind of weather than the other weather. I much rather the other weather, the fall weather. OSC, I totally agree. He says here it is probably worse when you live where you live, but I have it where you go outside and don't do much, and you're sweating to death. Oh yeah, SC. And look, but look, for y'all, it's really bad up there. I mean, for y'all, especially if y'all are used to more cooler weather. Like, in theory, I mean, it's really messed up. Yeah, Halloween's the best time of the year. And SC, I'm glad that you appreciate Halloween too, like I do, and you like the spooky stuff. That's really cool. I'm glad that you like that too. I know that you've liked that. I know I've known you for a couple of years now, so of course I know that you like Halloween. But I'm glad that you like it. Because it's all kinds of like spooky stuff, and I love like I have this like video I took in 2021, no 2022 or something, where the cold front came in and all my Halloween decorations were blowing in the wind, and it was cool and crisp. I like that a lot. And this is a jaw of the whale shark. Really cool. Really cool. Oh, those teeth, man. Yeah. Yeah, and these teeth are gargantuan. And yes, I see. I understand about the Christians that are against the Halloween. I understand. And also, in my opinion, which I know about, I'm going to talk about this for a moment. But before I say that, these are a rows of shark teeth. All those rows of shark teeth. That's really sharp. That's really gnarly to get, go through that. Yeah. So, but basically, there's different Christian factions that think different things, and doesn't mean they're wrong. But like, I think that there's nothing wrong with it. As you concur with me, and many others concur with me, nothing satanic about it or pagan about it, even if it was of the origin of that. But to each their own. And there's also Christian holidays to remember on that date. So Martin Luther, he in Germany had he nailed his thing to the church, and it's All Saints Day. So there's also good Christian things about it. But the other part that's not about Christianity, that's about ghouls and goblins and things, I think it's okay. It's all right, in my opinion. As you concur with me, but I'm glad you brought up the Christian thing. Yeah, just I think like Jehovah Witnesses, Seventh Day Adventists, like factions of Christianity like that are like that. Maybe other Christians too in other denominations, but it's really a lot in certain denominations of Christianity that don't celebrate that. Even Christmas, some don't celebrate Christmas or Easter either. Se, those are Christian holidays because they think it's a pagan origin, and I think that it was good for people to take things that are of pagan origin and make it into a Christian thing. I think that is defeating the enemy, but people do to each their own. That's their thing. It's not my place to tell anybody what to do with their lives. And then you have this whale shark, and he's caught off guard. That's how I felt when I was watching the whale shark trial. Oh, I must be getting a little loony right now. I must be getting kind of loony, chat. And those watching the rerun, I just said the whale shark trial when it's the Alec Baldwin trial. No offense to him or anything, but okay, that was my face during the Alec Baldwin trial. I felt like this thing. And that's a close up of the shark's eye. It's like this whale shark is getting on trial for getting all those plankton. We caught you red fin, Mr. Shark. We sure as hell did. Absolutely. We got, yeah. Couldn't get one past us. One thing I'll say about the Alec Baldwin trial is that basically, I think that the prosecutor was real kind of rude and had an attitude to her. I'll say that. I said that before. Anyway, and also it was like this shark has a lot of spots on it because they have a skin condition where they'll have different spots on it. Whoa! I'm gonna take myself off the screen for a second. Well, that's not what I meant to do. I'm gonna take me off the screen. Whoa! Look at that. That looks like he's about to drop a mixtape. He's about to do a diss track. You know, that would be an epic picture for like a wallpaper or for a YouTube thing or for a movie, for an album or something. That's pretty cool. Yeah, absolutely. Top of head. Close up showing eyeball. Denticles. Eye, teeth, and jaw. The whale shark inhabitants all tropical and warm temperate seas. The fish primarily pelagic and can be found in both coastal and oceanic habitats. Tracking devices have shown that whale sharks displays dynamic patterns of habitat utilization likely in response to availability of prey. While sharks observed off the northeast Yucatan Peninsula tend to engage inshore surface swimming between sunrise and mid afternoon, followed by regular vertical oscillations in oceanic waters during the afternoon and overnight. About 95% of the oscillating periods was spent in epipalchic depths, 200 meters, 660 feet, but whale sharks also look regular deep dives, 500 meters, 1600 feet, often descending in brief stutter steps, perhaps for foraging. The deepest recorded dive was 1,928 meters, 6,325 feet, making the whale shark the deepest diving fish to be recorded. Whale sharks were also observed to remain continuously at depths of greater than 50 meters, 160 feet, for the 3 days or more. The whale shark is a migratory and also and has two distinct subpopulations: an Atlantic subpopulation from Maine to Azores, Cape, and Gallas, South Africa, and an Indo-Pacific subpopulation which holds 75% of the entire whale shark population. It usually roams between 30 north and 35 south, where water temperatures are higher than 21 Celsius to 70 feet, but have been spotted as far north as Bay of Fundy, Canada, and the Sea of Okhotsk, North Japan, and as far south as Victoria, Australia. Seasonal feeding aggregations occur at several coastal sites such as the Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman, Ningaloo Reef in Western Australia, Darwin Island, and the Galapagos. Darwin Island, I've not heard of that. Quantaroo, Mafia Island, that's interesting. And Puani region. These things get around, man. In Taiwan, they're in Qatar and China. In the Philippines, Mazabiak, around Mahi, in Gujarat, in Kerala, well, in India. In 2011, more than 400 whale sharks gathered off the Yucatan coast. It was one of the largest gatherings of whale shark recorded. Migrations in that area are among the most reliable seasonal gatherings known for whale sharks, with the large numbers occurring in most years between May and September. Associated ecotourism has grown rapidly to sustainable levels. I know, right, SE? Hilarious. That's a good one. That's why they have them on trial, because they went to Mafia Island. That was a great one. Thank you, SE. Great job. Good wit. Growth and longevity and reproduction of whale shark are poorly understood. There was uncertainty as whether vertebrae growth bands are formed annually or biennially, which is important in determining the age, growth, and longevity of whale sharks. A 2020 study compared the ratio of carbon 14 isotopes found in growth bands of whale shark vertebrae to nuclear testing events in the 1950s and 60s, finding that growth bands are laid down annually. The study found an age of 50 years for a 10 meter, 33 feet female and 35 years for a 9.9 male. Various studies looking at vertebrae growth bands and measuring whale sharks in the wind have estimated their lifespan from 80 years and up to 130 years. Evidence suggests that males grow faster than females in earlier stages of life, but ultimately reach a smaller maximum size. Whale sharks exhibit late sexual maturity. One study looking at free-swimming whale sharks estimated the age at maturity in males at 25 years. Puping of whale sharks has not been observed, but mating has been witnessed twice. St. Helena mating in this species was filmed for the first time in whale sharks of Ningaloo Reef via airplane in Australia in 2019, when a larger male unsuccessfully attempted to mate with a smaller immature female. Whoa. And this is why they're on trial. There's so many shady things going on with them. The capture of a 10.6 meter, 35 feet female in July 1996 that was pregnant with 300 pups indicated that the whale sharks are ovoviviparous. The eggs remain in the body, and the female give birth to living young, which are about 40 to 60 centimeters long, 16 to 24 inches long. Evidence indicates the pups are not all born at once, but rather the female retains sperm from one mating and produces a steady stream of pups over a prolonged period. On 7 March 2009, marine scientists in the Philippines discovered what is believed to be the smallest living specimen of the whale shark. The young shark, measuring only 38 centimeters, 15 inches, was found with its tail tied to the stake at a beach pillar in Sorsogon, Philippines, and was released into the wild. Based on this discovery, some scientists no longer believe this area is just feeding ground. This site may be birthing ground as well. Both young whales and sharks are pregnant. Females have been seen in the waters of St. Helena in the South Atlantic Ocean, where numerous whale sharks can be spotted during the summer. In a report from Rappler last August 2019, whale sharks were sighted during the WF Philippines photo and identification activities in the first half of the year. There were a total of 168 sightings, 64 of them re-sightings or reappearances of previously recorded whale sharks. WWF noted very young whale shark juveniles were identified among the 168 individuals spotted in the first half of 2019. Their presence suggests that the Taikao Pass may be pumping ground for whale sharks, further increasing the ecological significance of the area. Looks like they're having a population boom of 8. A whale shark in the Philippines with Remoras. That's the skin condition. Wow. The whale shark is a filter feeder, one of the only 3 known filter feeding shark species, along with the basking shark and the megamouth shark. It feeds on plankton, including copepods, krill, fish eggs, Christmas Island red crabs. Oh, it's eating the Christmas crabs. It's on the naughty list. It gets cold every Christmas. What a bad group of fish. A bad group of sharks. Wow. I think that these sharks are behind all the messed up stuff going on in the country. Crab larvae and small nectonic life, such as small squid or fish. It also feeds on clouds of eggs during the mass spawning of fish and corals. Many rows of vestigial teeth play no role in feeding. Feeding occurs either by ram filtration in which the animal opens its mouth and swims forward, pushing water and food into the mouth, or by active suction feeding, in which MK Ultra will. And pushing water and food into the mouths by active suction. Feeding in which the animal opens and closes its mouth, sucking its volumes of water that are there expelled through the gills. In both cases, the filter pads serve to separate food from water. These unique black sieve-like structures are presumed to be modified gill rackers. Food separation in whale sharks is by cross-flow filtration, in which water travels nearly parallel to the filter pad surface, not perpendicularly through it before passing to outside, while denser food particles continue back to the throat. This is extremely efficient filtration method that minimize following the filter pad surface, while sharks have been observed coughing, presumably to clear a build of particles from the filter pads, while whale sharks migrate to feed and possibly to breed. Well, I know that the sharks must be snorting and consuming speed, and they're the OGs. They're the original gangsters. The original gangsters. So that's when it was filtering. I know there's like part of me blocking the screen, but that's then when they're filtering plankton. This is when they're like eating plankton and stuff. They just open their mouth and suck everything in like a vacuum, and they have spots in them because of their condition, the white spots. So they're like Michael Jackson, but they haven't gone completely white yet. Yeah, exactly. I thought they're like catfish too. Exactly, the big old catfish. The whale shark is an active feeder, targeting concentrations of plankton or fish. It is able to ram filter feed or can gulp in stationary positions. This is in contrast to the passive feeding basking shark, which does not pump water. Instead, it swims to force water across the gills. SE says, I had ex-girlfriend that used to open her mouth and eat everything in front of her. I had to let her go, costing me too. A juvenile whale shark is estimated to eat 21 kilograms, 46 pounds of plankton per day. The BBC program Planet Earth filmed a whale shark feeding on school of small fish. The same documentary showed footage of whale shark timing its arrival to coincide with the mass spawning of fish shoals, feeding on the resultant clouds of eggs and sperm. While sharks are known to prey on a range of platonic and small nectonic organisms that are spatio-temporally patchy. These include krill, crab, larvae, jellyfish, sardines, anchovies, marklers, small tunas, squid. They even eat Squidward. In ram filter feeding, the fish swims forward in constant speed with its mouth fully open, straining prey particles from the water by forward propulsion. This is also called passive feeding, which usually occurs when prey is present at low density. Due to their mode of feeding, whale sharks are susceptible to ingestion. Microplastics, such as presence of microplastics in whale shark scat, was recently confirmed. Now they're scatting everywhere. They're pooping everywhere. Essie. This is one swimming next to a diver. Epic. It looks like a moose. This is when it's like a tourist is looking at them. Despite its size, the whale shark does not pose any danger to humans. Younger whale sharks are gentle and can play with divers. Underwater photographers, such as Fiona Eritist, have photographed them swimming close to humans without any danger. Although whale sharks are docile fish, touching or riding the sharks is strictly forbidden and finable in most countries. It also causes serious harm to the animal. The shark is seen by divers in many places, including Bay Islands in Honduras, Thailand, Indonesia, Bol Agono, Cedar Was Bay, Isha Bay. Philippines and Maldives, close to Miji, South Airy Atoll, the Red Sea, Western Australia, Ningaloo Reef, Christmas Island, Taiwan, Panama, Kioba Island, Belize, Tofo Beach, Mozambique, Swana Bay, Greater St. Lucia Wetland Park, South Africa, the Galapagos Islands. Saint Helena Island, Mesre, Caribbean Sea. La Paz, California, Baha'i, Los Angeles, Mexico. West Malaysia Island off eastern Pesnuru, Malaysia, India, Sri Lanka, Oman, Furja, and Arabia, Puerto Rico, Caribbean, Gulf of Tadjoura, Djibouti, Horn of Africa. This is one in an aquarium. I've seen them in the aquarium before. There is currently no robust estimate of global whale shark population. The species is considered endangered by the ICN due to the impacts of fisheries by catch losses and vessel strikes combined with its long lifespan and late eutration. In June 2018, New Zealand Department of Conservation classified the whale shark as migrant with qualifier secure overseas under the New Zealand threat classification system. It is listed along with 6 other species of sharks under the CMS Memorandum of Understanding on Conservation of Migratory Sharks. In 1998, the year I was born, the Philippines banned all fishing, selling, importing, and exporting of whale sharks for commercial purposes, followed by India in May 2001, Taiwan in May 2007. In 2010, the Gulf of Mexico oil spill resulted in 490 million barrels. I remember when that happened. I was in school. I remember I was in science class, and we were talking about that. Of oil falling into an area of the south of Mississippi River Delta, where 1/3 of all whale shark sightings in the northern part of the Gulf have occurred in recent years. Sightings confirm that the whale sharks were unable to avoid oil slick, which was sustained on the surface of the sea, where the whale shark feed for several hours at a time. No dead whale sharks were found. This species was also added to the Appendix 2 of the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora CITES in 2003 to regulate the international trade of live specimens and its parts. Hundreds of whale sharks are illegally killed every year in China for their fins, skins, and oil. Yeah, I remember when this happened. I was in school. I remember in science class, she was talking about it. Yeah, that was messed up. An estimated leak of 1,000 barrels of oil a day are still leaking into the Gulf as of 2020. A capping stack was installed that stopped the release of oil. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know, right? They capped the original one, but there's still something leaking. They should fix it. I agree. The whale shark the whale shark is popular in a few public aquariums that keep it, but its large size means excuse me. But its large size means that a very large tank is required and it has specialized feeding requirements. Their large size and iconic status has also fueled an opposition to keeping species in captivity, especially after the early death of some whale sharks in captivity in certain Chinese aquariums, keeping the species in relatively small tanks. This is the one in Japan. The first attempt at keeping whale sharks in captivity was in 1934 when an individual was kept for about 4 months a intent of Natural Bay and of Aizu, Japan. The first attempt at keeping whale sharks in aquarium was initiated in 1980 by Okinawa Aquarium in Japan. Since 1980, several have been kept in Okinawa, mostly obtained from incidental catches and coastal nets set by fishers, but two were stranding. Several of these were already weak from the capture standing, and some were released, but initial captivity survival rates were low. After the initial difficulties in maintaining the species had been resolved, some have survived long term in captivity. The record for whale shark in captivity is an individual that, as of 2021, has lived more than 26 years in the Okinawa Aquarium. Following Okinawa Oska Aquarium started keeping whale sharks, and most basic research on keeping of the species was made at these institutions. As he says, looks cool, but they should let them go unless they're trying to make them make whale babies. Exactly. Exactly. I'm still with y'all. I didn't forget about y'all. All right. All right. All right. All over the world, outside of Asia, for only whale sharks, is in Georgia Aquarium in Atlanta, United States. This is unusual because the comparatively long transport time and complete logistics require to bring the sharks to the aquarium ranging between 28 and 36 hours. Georgia keeps two whale sharks to two males, Taroko Yushan, and who both arrived in 2007. Two earlier males at Georgia Aquarium, Ralph and Norton, both died in 2007. Trixie died in 2020. Alice died in 2021. Georgia's whale sharks were all imported from Taiwan and were all taken from commercial fishing quota for species usually used locally for food. Taiwan closed their fishery entirely in 2008. China and the ocean kingdom of Dalian and Ganzhou, the capital largest city of Guangdong province in southern China. Qingdao province of China. Yatai Aquarium. Taiwan, India, Dubai, and many of those places like that. I can't believe I read through the whole thing. Whoa. In Madagascar, whale sharks are called Merokinatana, meaning many stars, after the appearance of the markings of the shark's back. In the Philippines, it is called a buntanding balian, which the shark is featured reserve of the Philippine 100 peso bill. By law, snorkelers must maintain a distance of 4 feet from the shark, and there is a fine and possible prison sentence for anyone who touches the animal. Whale sharks are also known as jinbizaim in Japan because the markings resemble patterns of typical zinbai, granio bintang in Indonesia. Surfish in Vietnam. They're talking about Vietnam again. Lock them up. Yeah. The whale shark is also featured in the latest 2015-2017 edition of the Maldivian 100 Rifii banknote along the green turtle. Checking something. Eclectic, Rust, Trial Dismissed, Update, Sharks Game, Shark. Oh. Great. Well, there you go. Okay. All right, so basically, so that's information about the sharks. No, JK, free them, found not guilty. Yeah, free the sharks. Shark lives matter. Free the sharks. Yeah, so I talked about the two shark species, and I ranted and talked about the Alec Baldwin trial. I had my trial rant and I did updates. Yeah, I agree. And also, I think that it was very important, very cool that we did that. And we have reached the end of the show. I've done everything I was supposed to do for tonight. So we sang our final thoughts before we go. And thank you for coming, SE, and everybody else. Maybe watching as a rerun, or maybe there's people that are here. So yeah, I talked about all the topics that I need to do. Yeah. So and I'm glad SE you're able to come. And that was a really wild attack that happened off of Texas, like you told me about before. So I reviewed yesterday. So thank you for that, and thank you SE for the email, for the article about the shark that I talked about, and on the last stream. And if you have any other articles to send me, I appreciate you do that. And yeah, have a good weekend. All right, and that's all to say for this stream. Yeah, absolutely. And peace.